Mike Leon. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mike, the host of Can We Please Talk podcast. As you are also tuning in, we're watching the hearing for the Fani Willis and Nathan Wade aspect of this Georgia case. What's your initial assessment of what we're seeing so far?
Well, Steph, good to see you, and Chris as well, too. This is wild to me that this is happening. You know, the good part about this is that the transparency that we're able to see this. If this was happening in federal court where no cameras are allowed, we wouldn't be seeing any of this stuff, and right, we'd just be kind of getting it secondhand. So, legalities aside from all of this, you know, which are going to be discovered in this motion that's being brought by Michael Roman and his attorney, this looks bad on the surface, and there's a lot of fodder here for Republicans and for the Trump campaign and for his attorneys and for his team in terms of the improper relationship, why this may be politically motivated. We're losing sight of the overall RICO case and the 19 defendants that were brought in part of this. And that's kind of what sucks about all of this and there's a reason why a lot of people did not want Fani Willis to bring these charges, because A, they were kind of covered already in Jack Smith's indictments, and B, because of her office and some of the things that she's done in terms of trying to get other people reelected in the state and going against some of the normal Republicans down there in the state. So it feels politically motivated as we're all watching this play out and the semantics that are taking place in court. It just has the feeling, and the biggest part is it could be corrupting a jury pool that's down there in the state of Georgia that's watching this play out and unfold in front of them. And they're saying, wait a minute, these two had a relationship. They paid him $650,000. When you pay that kind of money, that has influence over a special prosecutor. And now special prosecutors are not supposed to be corrupted or not supposed to have that kind of money and influence held over them by the lead prosecutor in this case. So it stinks. To put it bluntly, Steph, it stinks. And it sucks that we're watching this kind of unfold, and there's a reason why a lot of people did not want Fani Willis to bring this case amongst this.
Yeah, and so what kind of impact do you think this could have both on public opinion and public trust in these institutions? It does seem like all of this is unearthing a certain uncertainty in these institutions that we are all hoping that we can trust.
Well, I mean, even in this questioning with Nathan Wade and Ashley Merchant, who's Michael Roman's attorney here, they know each other. They've known each other for years. The qualifying questions at the beginning of this were like, our kids play together. So like right there, just for anybody outside observer that maybe is not a legal beagle or doesn't know anything about legal analysis, never went to a law school, minored in criminal justice like me, you're watching that and you're going, wait, these people all know each other? Like they're arguing over when a relationship started, whether it was in 2021, 2022. One of the attorneys was the defense attorney in that divorce proceeding for Nathan Wade. Like all of this is wild to watch play out on the surface. And it's, you know, again, for the former president, however you feel about him politically, you can look at this specifically and say, this muddies it. Like this truly is what I'm talking about when we try to unearth some of these different political motivations behind some of these charges. You know, we just saw he left the New York courthouse, and his trial is going to be set to begin in March 25th. There's talk amongst the legal community and experts that I've had on the show, including a former Trump attorney, that have said that case, his statute of limitations has run out in that case. That's a misdemeanor at best. Why are we bringing that? Now we fast forward to the other state case that's happening amongst the 4 jurisdictions that he's facing here in Georgia. And you've got an improper relationship. You've got now a potential jury pool that could be corrupted because they're watching this play out. And could they fairly decide if Fani Willis's team is bringing this because of the actual charges and what played out with the improper phone call and the asking for more votes? Or is it all politically motivated because she happened to be dating the special prosecutor? So I just think it corrupts the trust in these institutions. And it's not helping Fani Willis's case or the folks in Georgia that are trying to uphold the law and bring the defendants to justice in this case. It definitely doesn't help their argument seeing this play out.
And it looks like from Nathan Wade's testimony here that he's saying that his marriage, he said, quoting him, he said that it broke in 2015. And so by his account, right, the marriage was in essence dissolved at that point in time. So his argument sounds to be that he was not having an affair, he was just having a legitimate relationship at the time. What's your assessment of that kind of argument on the aspect of trust that we're looking at here in this case?
Yeah, well, and I heard some of that earlier before. He was talking about the irreconcilable differences that him and his wife had, and that he stayed on with the marriage just because of the kids and stuff like that. So I appreciate that transparency. The judge in this, Scott McAfee, is going to have to decide if this motion should be upheld and the prosecution's office should be, disqualified from trying this. And what it's going to do is inevitably delay all of this even further beyond the election. And it goes back to my broader point that I was mentioning before, is that there's a reason. Now, we didn't know it to this level, but there was a reason other attorneys in the state and other folks within the state had mentioned to Fani Willis to not bring these charges, because she was involved, for example, in the Burt Jones fiasco that we saw play out about 18 months ago, where she was campaigning for Burt Jones's rival, who was running for the lieutenant governor. And I happen to know the former lieutenant governor of the state, in Jeff Duncan, who's a friend of mine. So she was helping from campaign perspective with this person's, against who Burt Jones was going against. It just stinks, Steph. Like we're watching this play out and unfold. And this is like a small minutia part of this trial, a motion to see if there was an improper relationship. It just muddies all of the water. It confuses people that don't understand the legalities behind this. And the main part of this, as journalists will tell you, you don't want to bury the lead. We're burying the lead because the lead is there's 19 defendants and a former president charged in all of this. And it just stinks because it's improper of the relationship she carried. And maybe as they're going over this in their relationship, it's bleeding over into their work life and bringing charges that maybe should not have been brought. Regardless of how you feel about the former president, we can debate that to the high heavens, but this just stinks because she's not following proper protocol and disclosing when the relationship happened, the payments that were made to him, the influence that those payments will have over Nathan Wade. It doesn't look good on the surface. There's no way anybody could spin it in positivity for Fani Willis.
Yeah, and legally, this is a big week for Trump. We just heard from him earlier this morning saying that because of the ruling of the March 25th start date of that case, the hush money case, he will need to be campaigning only at night and mostly at night and be in the courtroom during the day. What's your sense of how these rulings could impact his campaign going forward?
Well, I think if anything we've learned from the primaries, it's not impacted the campaign at all. Let's be honest. Look, as much as people try to prop up Nikki Haley, we're going to find out by the end of February. I think, I'm hopeful, as other analysts that are watching this and covering this and also doing segments on this on television, I'm hopeful that we get to Super Tuesday and we get, a lot more states involved in the primary process to decide who will be the candidate for the GOP side. But it's not going to happen just based on, look at the polling data, look at how the former president performed in New Hampshire, in a state that was probably a little bit more, college educated, more independents could vote in that primary process. And they overwhelmingly, by 12 percentage points, chose the former president. I don't think this really hurts the former president in terms of a campaign perspective, at least on the GOP side right now, in securing the nomination. Now, when the calendar starts to, turn towards the RNC, which will happen, I believe, in July or August, and then when it turns to actual debate stuff, and will that coincide, that's going to be a little bit tougher. But I think right now he has such a large percentage of base of the Republican Party that it's not really affecting his campaign message. And when you see something like this in news, it just further affirms some of the things that he's saying about, that this is all politically motivated, just given this relationship and what we're hearing today.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much for all of that. Mike Leon, host of Can We Please Talk podcast. Always great to have you on.
Thanks, Steph.